Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 Idlewild Board of Commissioners meeting. It's 9 a.m. and we'll call the meeting to order and start with the approval of the agenda. I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve the agenda.
Second.
Do we have a need for a non-public session at the end of this? I think we have a couple of things.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about Primex reimbursement. We do have SCADA issues that I have, the alerts from that login thing that I don't know if you want that in non-public.
And water issue inquiries on the list here.
Yeah, and
All
then,
right, so we'll have a non-public session here after this.
Okay?
Okay.
Also, the water operator is going to call me when he is going to put the ladder up and go to the top of the water tower and open the hatch and take a look at the inside. I don't know if
Yes.
either of you want
I would
to
be interested
see
in
that.
seeing
So,
where is this again?
Rhineck,
Oh, yeah.
if you'd like to see Rhineck,
No, it's okay.
you don't have to climb the ladder. It's a fraternity initiation type. So we'll continue this meeting so that we can have more than one commissioner there at a time.
Okay.
So with that, do we ask for the vote to approve the agenda? How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 on approving this agenda with a non-public and a recess to go to
Yes.
the water tower at the
Right.
end. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the minutes of March 11th, last Tuesday.
Second.
Discussion.
A few nits, that's all.
Yeah. On the DPW report, the 6th bullet point, so second to the bottom, warranty has TEE instead of just TY.
Correct, I got that
Oh.
one, yep. Just a Y, no double E.
Yeah. Yep, and that was the only one I had.
Also, the next bullet point down, foreman, there's an E
7?
in there. Foreman, as opposed to FORMAN. And then if you back up to the second bullet point on page 2, new chains purchased from BB Chains were the wrongs, just wrong.
Oh.
Eliminate that S.
Yep.
Were the wrong ones. Okay, do I have something else? Yeah, on an administrator's report, so I'm on page 3, closing of the old operating account with BNK. Isn't that BNH, Bank of New Hampshire?
It is B&H.
Okay, and then you repeat the BNK further down in that paragraph. So change to BNH.
Kept thinking bank. I bet.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought. Bank,
Yeah,
bank.
I know.
A generic bank. And then your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7th bullet point. Jennifer will inform Porter Office Equipment that the warrant article. You have the hashtag for number, but the number itself isn't in there.
Isn't there?
Yeah, I forget what was that. Number 7. I don't remember. If we could just get the number in there, like
Yep.
to be consistent with what you did with the other ones.
Yep.
And that's all I have.
How do you vote to approve the minutes as amended?
Aye.
3-0. So at 9:04, we'll move to approval of manifests, and the first manifest is an operations and payroll manifest for $17,875.32, and it includes a reimbursement check to Primex that we'll discuss and vote on, but we'll approve the manifest,
Yes.
Right.
and the Primex check will be continued upon our vote.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve the operations and payroll manifest.
Second.
Let me get that up there. Let's see. So there were some interesting things I thought on here. So it turned out that we paid Albany Service Center to weld that radiator bracket, and I take it that Chadwick Bayross said that they're not covering it under warranty?
Well, yeah, it's not necessarily a frame thing that they said that they do cover, because it's a bracket off the frame. So yeah, that wasn't something that they would back onto, so we did have to pay that.
So we have heating bills, we're paying the people that get paid once a year, which is the 2 keep checklist supervisors that came to our annual meeting and sat there for
2.5 hours?
5 hours.
Oh, they were there, that's
They were
right,
there
that's
for
right. from
voting and
Right,
yes,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
time,
So,
yeah.
they were there for, about 5 hours, yeah.
And the clerk was there, I believe. I think there's video evidence the
I'm
clerk
pretty sure he was
Yeah,
there.
okay.
And I think the moderator
The
was
moderator
there.
seemed to be on the video also.
Yeah,
Okay. And we have employee payroll. We have Napa Auto Parts, and we bought some more Blue Death. Love
We like
Blue
that
Death,
stuff.
Yes. I think that should be on Moonshiner.
Refresh my memory, what do we use that again for? I know we discussed that before, but,
It's
you
an
know,
Catalytic
exhaust
converters.
additive to the diesel trucks to clean for a cleaner environment.
okay,
There's a
And-
tube, I looked at a diagram, there's tubes that go right to the catalytic converter type
Right.
of a thing. And
okay.
Now, as we come out of winter here, hopefully, the trucks will not use as much, but it is, at this time of year when they're working hard, plowing, low gear, constantly working
Well, we're
hard.
not looking to
Damage
skip
anything.
a cycle of rating.
All right.
Just fun to see you have to buy that every.
Yeah, you go through it.
Okay, so what else was
Just like
interesting
the
here? We have the $6,925 check that we're gonna discuss going to Primex, and we'll
Yes.
talk about that in detail while we're doing that. Anything else you'd like to point out? We're paying for street lighting and shop supplies. Any further discussion on this manifest? All in favor of approving this manifest for $17,875.32, say aye.
I,
Aye,
3-0 on that. And if I'm looking at this correctly, the operating account balance in the bank is $287,000.
Mhm.
So we have to bear in mind that we have to, at some point this year, think about tax anticipation note.
mm-hmm,
And I'm thinking I should remind myself to contact the attorney in Maine that did the letter for the bank. I guess we have to talk to the bank who's changing names.
I hope they're not changing anything
People?
else.
So I'm assuming they want the same type of letter as we apply for a tax anticipation note.
It's a good assumption.
I have to remember the name of the
so
guy.
these notes are annual thing?
We have to
You
apply
don't get-
every year.
yeah,
No, okay. Wish they'd give like 3-year terms, but okay.
they can't do that.
No.
Do
There
that.
hasn't been a
Look at the
vote
difference in
for
the-
the,
Look at the difference of the change in Idlewise's management in 1 year.
right,
Yeah, that's true, that's
right.
true.
And the budgets, you don't know how much the budget's gonna be until you have the annual meeting, so you can't pre-set.
Okay, that makes sense.
I have a question. Did you do the check from Bank of New Hampshire?
Yeah,
179,000?
yeah.
Okay.
So it completes the whole, this is
Are
both
you
of them
questioning if
together.
it's supposed to be in a manifest?
It's part of the operations manifest.
Let's see it.
Because it's going back into the same operating account. You kind of wouldn't see it, and we
Okay.
don't have Bank of New
But
Hampshire.
we have the physical check here. 'cause I
Correct.
wasn't voting. Thank you.
Yep.
Got it, got it.
And that's on the agenda?
It's under, it's part of this.
Signature items, account
Signature items.
closing request, B&H water project, yep.
So that'll add to that balance.
No, it does not.
Well, that
It's,
includes it?
Because
Yes, it
you've
does.
included it in there,
it's
yes.
already been included for quite some time.
Damn. Richard.
Now I'm gonna make an elaborate motion when it comes time to discuss that.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, stay tuned. All right, so,
Water.
next we go
Water
to
manifest.
the water manifest. I'll make a motion that we approve a water manifest for $7,399.76.
Second.
Discussion. This has 2 items on it. It looks like we've got a delivery of caustic soda. I found it interesting that they don't call it sodium hydroxide on the invoice, they call it caustic soda.
Mhm.
And that was $2,558.80 to fill that tank. And that's good for, used to be good for over a year, I think.
Well, last order was a whole year. We ordered a year ago, almost to the date.
And the other invoice is to the water operator, Simply Water, for $3,893.75. And there's a water hookup for $150 and.
No, there's no water hookup. There's a small portion that goes to the hookup because it's a continuation of the hookup that happened previously. You're gonna see that.
In the invoice,
Hmm?
we're gonna see it.
Yeah.
You mean, we're gonna see it?
I sent you all the documentation with it. You should see it in with the manifest.
Yeah, looking at the Simply Water bill now,
That said, the invoice, you're talking about the invoice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
from Simply Water.
That's what I said,
Yeah.
on the invoice, yes. So that's all accumulating in, let's see, 5. Okay. One of them is $750 for pump house repair, and one of them is, got a label here of general government buildings. That's the line item you're charging it to. Yep, okay.
Correct.
Mhm.
Any other questions on this water manifest? All in favor of approving this manifest for $7,399.76? Say aye.
Aye.
3-0 on that. So at 9:12, we'll move to the DPW report. And the
Okay.
first thing I have on here is a note. Do we have any 20-mile-per-hour highway signs?
I can look, there might be 1 or 2 lying around the
Yeah, I
shop.
think you said that before.
Yeah, there might be.
We want to replace, I know of 2 20-mile-an-hour signs on Idlewise Drive.
That's
One's
still
at-
hanging up.
One's at Big Loop, yeah, one's 25.
Right, I think there's some
Did I just say 20?
25s.
Yeah.
We want to change the 25s to 20s. So,
How many spots?
I know of 2, I don't know if you know of, while you're cruising around, if you take a count of how many 25-mile-an-hour
Right.
signs, we wanted to change them to 20s. And if you
Okay.
could miraculously find the exact number you need in the garage, that would be great.
Yeah,
Do we have to notify Madison Police or anything about
The
that?
chief, we already talked to the chief, and he
Yeah.
recommends 20.
okay,
Right.
because I thought at some point there was something with, they weren't enforceable at 20, or you had to be 25, or,
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
the
something.
enforceability was
Right.
explained to us by a previous chief, which was fascinating, but that doesn't mean that our ordinance doesn't say that it's supposed to be 20.
Yeah,
That changed a couple of years ago,
Yes.
and previous boards never changed the signs.
Okay.
So we're getting around to fixing that. And the current chief said with the amount of foot traffic that he sees in Idlewise, he doesn't recommend 25 regardless of whether the courts stand behind the officers that write tickets.
yeah, I know there were some 20-mile-an-hour signs, because they've been up before and down and up and down.
Oh,
Right.
So again, I'll look around and I'll see what we have, and I'll get back to you on that.
And I saw a Winagong sign on a pole.
Yep, that got pushed over doing some winging back, so it looked like it sheared the
The base.
post, so I got it down the shop.
Was that the top of the hill or?
Yes,
bottom?
yeah, up on the Idlewise end.
So now all the Winagong signs are at the highway garage.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them there. We'll have to,
There might be one at the bottom that's still there, huh?
it might be. I do have, I think, 1 post, but that is something we're probably gonna have to look into getting, or some more posts.
Yeah, they get shorter every time we put them back.
Yeah, well, when they get cut off at the base,
They shrink.
they get a little shorter, so I think that's short enough at this point.
Okay.
But,
How many feet
yeah,
is there?
signs, again, there's been a few signs gone, as we all know, that need replacing. I mean, we could probably spend a lot of money on just signs if we really got after it, but posts and all kinds of things. I mean, I did have a list at one point and it was quite extensive.
Wow.
I have a bunch of signs that we ordered in the fall that I didn't get up. I ran into little trees growing in the way of me being able to get up. There's one on what's the name of it? Old Town Road.
Yeah.
That the old sign is still there from the 60s, just that all the paint is off of it.
Oh,
The old
Just-
wooden sign.
Yeah, so I want to put the new sign, it's a white sign, right underneath it, but I can't get to it because there's a sapling
Right.
like this.
I
There's
think
no
we have a
big-
chainsaw we could use.
Yeah, if you cut that, I'll get that up there.
Right.
And I'll put, I think I have one for the top too, but I got a bunch, I might have like 8 signs to put up. Thusis, classic Thusis and
Yeah.
things like that.
do you have all the screws and stuff
Yeah,
that's
I
needed for
bought
that?
a box
Oh,
of
yeah.
screws to put it up.
Okay. Yeah, we could work together with that.
Mhm.
So we did have, I didn't bring my notes because I was running a little late. We they made, the shed up in Conway, the highway guys made this tool, this drill bit, and they were drilling some frozen culverts that they had with it, and it was working slick. Well, we noticed yesterday on Hutwell, we had a frozen culvert. Luckily, it was the only one we had in the district. Now, there's a little something going on Little Shore where that basin is. That's a small, like 4-inch pipe, and I believe that might be frozen as well. But that's kind of hidden in them rocks, little structure across the road there from where the grate is. The grate's clear. I could feel it under the muck with a shovel. But anyway, we got to take a look at that later this afternoon. But so anyway, we borrowed this tool and we were able to drill the ice and get a hole out of that culvert pipe to get that to start draining. But it did create a little washout in the road
Oh,
because the water was seeping across the road and it created a tunnel. So, this time of year we've got stone, we have some stone left over we've been filling potholes with on Idlewise Drive on Friday to make it smoother. We don't have much of it left, so I would think that to get another load or two of stone would be wise. Also, I mean, again, we don't like using gravel when it's muddy, but we're gonna need some gravel as well, like to put across the road here. Once we get that running and into the ditch and where it's supposed to go, it's gonna probably be better to fill that little crater it created across the road with gravel, because the stone will get plowed out of it if we get some weather like we're gonna get. maybe
What size is
on
that
Friday.
stone?
What's that?
What size is
3/4
it?
inch.
3/4.
So, and I'd also think we should get some 3/4 inch gravel, and with our big truck being decked out still, we'd probably have to sub that out with High Street gravel there, sand and gravel. Have Mitchell bring us a couple of loads of stuff.
Bring it from High Street or go get it somewhere else?
I believe he'll probably get it from Coleman's.
So for my edification, what precisely is the difference between stone and gravel and usage-wise?
Well, we like using the stone in the potholes this time of year because it stays in there better. And the 3/4 inch stone is mixed in with gravel anyway, so when we go and regrade the roads, it just kind of adds in there already, and it just dissipates into the gravel when we grade them out. By putting the gravel in the potholes right now, it's like adding just mud to the road.
If it gets wet, the tire comes through and
It just squats it
splashes
right
out.
out.
Your stone doesn't
You're just gonna make
splash.
the pothole.
Now, the stone squats out over more time as well, but it holds in there a little bit better. The potholes are wet. You go putting dry gravel in a wet pothole, it's just like adding water to mud, or mud to water, it just doesn't work. So that's why, but there are some applications where we're gonna need some gravel on hand as well, and we don't have any of that left over. We used up every grain we had in the fall, so again, a couple truckloads of gravel, another couple truckloads of the stone. The stone, the good thing of the stone, we don't use it all. We have it for when we have to put in a new culvert pipe. We embed it in the stone. So it's not something that's gonna go to waste.
Right.
It's all usable
So
product.
2 truckloads of 3/4 inch stone and 2 truckloads of 3/4 inch gravel.
Yeah,
And we'll have high street truck that, 4
Yeah.
loads.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be an issue with the bands
I'll make a motion that we approve
coming right
2
in.
truckloads of each of those, 3/4 inch gravel, 3/4 inch stone.
Second.
Thank
All in
you.
favor?
Aye.
3-0.
So, the 18.
We wanna track this now because
What's
that's
that?
part of, this is part of FEMA reimbursement.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Go ahead, sorry.
So, the 18 Dodge has been leaking all winter with, there's like a valve box for the hydraulics. And the valves must need to be repacked or something.
I saw that in the invoice, he's saying that that could be 2,500 to fix it at Mark Motors.
No, that's a different thing. This is over at Albany Service. They installed all the hydraulics and the plows and the wings on these trucks. They had them built up over there. So he's looking into that. And the truck's over there right now. Now, I could go get the truck if needed, you know, and all that and utilize it, but he is looking to get that squared away for us.
So is it the same thing on 2 different trucks?
Yeah, didn't you report this last week?
No, this is a different problem with the truck.
It's a different hydraulic type of issue.
This is into the hydraulics that run the lifts, the body, the wing, the sander, you know,
Okay.
it's a valve box that all the hydraulic lines go into and come out of to run. In the box itself, there's all different valves for all different lines, and they're leaking something fierce. So he's hopefully gonna be able to repack these valves.
And that's a $2,500 job?
No, I don't know what this is.
This is-
The $2,500 job is from what I talked about last week, which is a crankcase leak that Mark Motors
That's what I'm thinking
dealership
of, the
found.
crankcase leak, okay.
That they're ordering the parts, and when they get those other couple of parts, there was the windshield wash unit and the pistons, they're gonna call me and get that set up. I've got an appointment with Mark Motors for the 19 to have the service done that we talked about, like we had on the 18.
Yeah.
The fuel filters, the
Yeah.
oil filters, that's going in Monday.
So on this receipt for the work done, he says, customer states there's a power steering leak, could not find power steering leak, but did find a timing cover leaking, estimated 2,700 for the job. And this truck is, do you know which, is this the 18 or the 19?
That's the 18. That's the one that just had the fuel filters and the service
And the
done.
one with the hydraulic problem at Albany is the 19?
No, the 18.
18.
There was a hydraulic line that went on the 19, the last storm, that Albany Service repaired for us in the middle of the storm to get us back in action
Just so that all the attention is on the 18.
at this point.
So 2,700 at Mark Motors to fix the cover leak. And how
Yeah.
much at Albany to fix the hydraulic?
I'm not positive
We don't
at
know
this
yet?
point, no. No, I stopped by there yesterday to check in on it, and Alan wasn't around. They told me that he's the guy that's working on that one, so the other guys really didn't have the information.
So these trucks are starting to demand more.
Yeah, more attention,
Yeah.
loving
Yep.
TLC.
Remember, we just spent 4,500 that we increased the budget at the,
Yep.
this is why, because the next week we're looking at 27 and an unknown amount for the.
Well, it's
Yeah.
more than 27. If you remember, there was an estimate. That's for the crankcase leak. But there was the 500 or so for the washing unit, the windshield washing
Yeah,
unit needs to
right.
be replaced.
Yeah,
And
is
then
that
there's the hood
correct?
pistons, which were another couple hundred. I think all in all, it was a $3,300 job at Mark Motors. If I remember
Where's the
correctly.
total at the bottom of this?
Okay. And hopefully we don't need to hit it, but if the trucks continue to need a lot of funds, there is, what's this amount? 71,000 in the
Capital reserve?
highway equipment capital reserve. So if we had to, we can hit that.
I'm just mentioning it, it's, now we start to look at replacing trucks that are needing this much repair, I guess.
Right.
Let's discuss it anyway. Yeah, this invoice was just for $785 for Mark Motors.
That was the service that was
Yeah.
done. Right, then there was an
Filters and-
estimate that we talked about in the meeting.
Just the price of oil on these trucks is pretty high.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's insane.
Anyway,
Anyway, so moving on from that, yeah, I can't, we got the rubber edges going and,
the rubber edges, I took a picture of that yesterday. I thought we could educate the public of how we switch away from the metal cutting edges to the rubber ones when the roads get soft.
yes.
Because we can take a lot of our expensive gravel and throw it with the spring snow into the ditch,
Yep,
which means that we need to buy more diesel, use the grader to put new gravel down, buy more gravel, get the old gravel out of the ditch. And now we switched to rubber cutting edges on the bottom of the plow. And I
Yes.
took a picture of it yesterday. Those rubber edges are like an inch thick. And I saw that they might be 8 inches or 10 inches long. Do they adjust? Do you adjust
Yes.
them downward?
yes.
Because as on paved roads, they're gonna wear.
Yeah.
They wear down, so there's definitely, about 5 inches or so of a channel where the bolts go.
So they slide.
So there's plenty of room, and then they flip over and you get both sides. So you get quite a bit of use out of them. They do wear down quite a bit fast,
But that's cheaper than taking the roads out of the ditches.
And that's the reason why, when the frost comes out of the gravel, the roads get soft, and we get mud season, and we all know about that. Well, when you plow in that road like that, you're tearing the gravel right off the top with the metal edges.
Yeah,
Some goes with the rubber, but it definitely saves on the gravel being plowed off the roads, big time. And, talking about the roads, I mean, I can't stress the importance of the high winging and the crowding back of the roads. I mean, you could all see, I hope, the difference in the roads are drying out a lot faster on account of that. So that's why we do that work, and it has to be kind of done in that timely manner. So thanks for Willie for helping out with that. Yeah. That's about all I got.
And you wanna get those storm reports into Jen?
I got those into Jen last week,
Okay.
so knowing how diligent she gets, I'm sure they've
Great.
been emailed out.
they were emailed.
Good?
Yeah. Yeah, 26 events, I
Yeah.
believe I counted this year,
Wow.
between the
Yeah, I
ice
think
and
that's what it says.
snow.
Yeah.
And that's kept all the material, I hope, to the best of my knowledge.
Jeff, I'm sure you know about it, but the end of Little Shore is really bad.
Yes, we're gonna get some stone in those potholes, and we're probably gonna go and get a load of patch at some point and start working on some of the pavement holes that show their face this time of year as
Coal
well.
patch at Burke,
Yes, yeah, we'll
good
probably.
stuff.
Yeah, that stuff stays in there, unlike the bag stuff, In a pinch, the bag stuff can work, but I'd rather get it from Burke any day of the week.
On Appenfeld Way, between Lugano and Playground Hill,
Yep.
with the new construction of that prefab
That
house.
dip is terrible, isn't it? And
We
that's
never,
a s-
we never talked about it. I
right.
was sure you,
Oh, you come into
you've
that
done a
too
little
fast with the
airborne with
plow.
that? Oh,
You
wow.
you know it's there. Yeah, no, that's something where, like I say, we could probably smooth out with some gravel at this point.
it needs the road to thaw and
More.
Right.
right?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. That was, again, one of those that we never got to after the contractor did his thing and smoothed out.
Well, the problem I think was created by what the contractor did for those 2 driveways that he had while he was installing that thing.
Yeah.
And we have to do something, there's several cases of last year of contractors doing stuff to our roads.
Mhm.
I can think of 2 instances where contractors including that one, put 1.5 inch stone on our roads, and we don't want that.
No.
It happened on Bristenstock,
Mm.
and then we had the issue of a logger damaging the pavement on Bristenstock near Rhineack.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, sir.
So our ordinances need to have us be able to make the contractors think twice of doing stuff on their own to our roads.
Fines,
Yes.
heavy fines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is this stuff monitored though? Can't have eyes out there all the time.
Well, he sees it and I see it.
Mm.
That's all you can do.
Just trying to nip it in the butt, like you say, when you see it, and
Yeah,
discourage
right.
it.
Right.
But the
Like, we
ordinance
know-
have to,
We know when there's a
Let us.
contractor working in a particular area,
Right,
and then we see what's going on.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, and sometimes you can see some of that when you're doing the driveway too. When we're up looking at the driveway.
yeah, true,
You know, you can see
right,
some evidence that, oh, this isn't gonna go well.
Yeah.
You know, look
Right.
at what they're, look at the piles, you know?
yeah,
Well, all the people that hit that bump, that dip or whatever we call it, that ski jump on
Yeah.
up and that way, the
wow,
residents can become aware that they should contact us when they see something like that happening, or else they have to suffer with the road being in the way
right.
they left it, so.
You gotta try to remember that it's there.
wow,
I know it's there.
I know it's there. Yeah, so getting with the roads too, like I said, winging back and having them dry out. The best thing the public can do is try to stay in the middle as much as possible rather than get off on the edge. Obviously, with the crown of the road, the middle's drier than say the edges. So, you know, cars come passing each other, you gotta move over obviously, but you know, the more you can stay away from the edge and the ditch line of the road, the better off you're gonna be and the better off the road's gonna be drying out. Because that's where you'll see, you know, the tire tracks and the wheel ruts on the edges of the roads for the most part. And any ones in the middle of the road, like you had there near your house, Nancy, on Platts. You know, we filled in with stone and it tends to firm it up, you know, and that's things that we're gonna be addressing as we move forward through mud season here. Yeah, that's all I have.
Yesterday, we talked about vacuum truck and
And the basins and some of the culvert pipes that are gagged up pretty good with silt.
they talked about, Jeff was talking a minute ago about the culverts being frozen and blocked.
Right.
Once they thaw, the fastest way to clean them out is to have a vacuum truck. Hauling water to do it with the whirl away just takes too long. So this, FEMA has identified the colors being cleaned out, so this could be submitted to FEMA too.
Good.
Ian gave me the name this morning via email of a company that he uses that happens to be in Bedford, New Hampshire, that I'll contact and see what they charge. They're a long way away, but
Right. Because
this,
we got a price last year about the basin cleanings, that was a pretty astronomical figure.
it's 2,500 plus they charge by the hour to get here and go home, which
Right.
put it out of range.
When the trucks like do 50, because they're so big and
How many basins do we have? Vacuum.
There's probably about, what, 8 or 9, 10 basins between Oak Ridge going up, and then those couple, you know, get the one over by Gloria, and then they say that one on Little Shore, you got one over on, another one on Idlewise Drive, 49 Idlewise Drive over there, that area. There's the one down on Little Loop, and believe it or not, there's one off Geneva, out in the woods there. But I don't know if that one's ever been cleaned out. Some of these ones got cleaned out a couple of years ago. The guy was here for Ian to do some mud sucking or something, and Tony, being Tony, got out there and said, hey, you mind while you're waiting to come and take a look at a couple of these? And he sucked a few of them out. I believe the one on Idlewise by Gloria and 49 got sucked out, and maybe that bottom one on Oak Ridge as well. But yeah, I mean, also what that company could do is if we have the designated pipes that are 3/4 clogged, I'll guess one on just past Lugano on Idlewise Drive before Big Loop. There's a pipe in there, I believe it's a 2-footer, and the outlet end is higher than the inlet end, and you wonder how it ever even flows water through it. That pipe's just tilted the wrong way. And that's why there's always a puddle on the inlet end. It never seems to drain because it's just slightly pitched the
It has
wrong
to
way.
fill up halfway before it starts coming out.
Right, right. So, you
And they
know,
used to clean the pipe and put all the debris at the entrance
right,
so that the next rain
go right
starts to
back
pull
in.
it back in again. It's like,
See, we clean them out, and that's what, you know, what we'll do is we'll go around, you know, as in another few weeks or whatever, when we clean these culverts out, and we dig both ends out if need be, and we try to leave like a sump at the entrance, at the exit end. So that way, anything in the pipe, any debris, any silt gets flushed out by the act of Mother Nature, and it comes out and it fills into that little bit of a
Oh,
hole.
yeah.
That we don't leave a big hole, but a little bit of a hole, and then that's again something we go back and address and clean that back out. And they'll sort of self-flush the pipes out by doing that. And that's something that, we did last year, like you say, that FEMA said that we cleaned pipes, that was a big part of what we've been doing the last couple of years, that we do every year. But,
We have to have a place for the vacuum truck to dump this stuff too.
right.
We're gonna have a lot of material.
Yeah,
I don't have an answer what we're gonna do with all of it yet.
right,
Gonna start advertising it for people that want Phil
yep.
to coordinate with us.
What about that, when they tried to build a new parking lot, what was that, on Burn or Hopewell?
Yeah,
That big area that's been used to store stuff?
yeah, we've got that area still, there's a
That's
little.
not big enough for,
Really?
Well, when we start doing ditching, that's not gonna be big enough at all. I mean, that may be a big enough spot for the basin truck to come in and unload a couple times to get that work done. But when we really get into the ditching, we're gonna really need some dump
a
spots.
few weeks ago, I added up all the FEMA estimates
Right,
of the cubic yards, and it was more than we've ever accumulated ever.
right, right. That, and again, that figure's not exaggerated on our end. It's if you were to be able to go and ditch everything in the district, that's what you're gonna get, It's a
Yeah.
crazy figure. That's something that can be done in a season?
We're not gonna do it all in 1 year.
Hey, there you go. Right.
We only have 2 years to do it though. And
Exactly.
it's not like we need to get every FEMA project identified done. We need to prioritize and
The worst case storm
put down the
damage
list, yeah.
issues. Right. I'm all set.
I'm seeing if I have that spreadsheet I made.
So are there any other areas we could store this stuff temporarily?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've had a few people that been willing to take a lot and take stuff. One guy's filled up pretty much right now, and I think another guy, he's still willing to take quite a bit of material for what he's doing.
But he hasn't moved the stuff you already gave him last year?
No, this guy has.
Okay.
This guy was kind of moving it as I brought it. This guy was
Yeah,
was going to town with it. The guy on 113 there,
Yeah.
he's got the paper signed and all that. So does the other one.
What's the process flow? You gotta temporarily store it somewhere, and then if they agree
Well,
to pick it up, they're gonna pick it up from somewhere.
Ideally, we get it right out of the ditch, right to the
Right,
property.
right.
Okay.
When I'm hauling out of the ditch line, hopefully we have a guy loading me up, or I'm loading him up.
Yeah.
We're doing this. But anyway, last year the way we'd load the truck up and I go dump it right to their site.
Okay.
That's the ideal way to do it. Yeah, when you have to store, load it and put it somewhere else, now you're doing it twice. You're picking up, it's like firewood, you're picking up the material 3 different times, So when you're getting it out of the ditch or out of the culvert pipe type of thing, because we use that same material to get out, you haul it right to the site that you want to get it to, and you're done. You keep going. Then then it's their mess. That's they sign the waiver that, any rocks, dumps, debris, or whatever comes out of there is what they get, and they're responsible for moving it and dispersing it on their own property.
Can we use Class 6 roads?
Well,
Some of them I know aren't really accessible.
Tony was saying that we would want to run the grader down after we put the material on the road, and the roads have to be wide enough and the trees have to be, branches have to be up high enough for the grader to go through. One of the places I'd like to see if we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone is the way the road was, Class 6 road was left at Rhinebeck. They kind of discontinued the Class 6 road, and people own lots on that road. It's like they,
Right, all the way around.
yeah, so you
Yeah.
need to put that all the way back around while
Yeah,
it's,
there used to be a road that looped around the tank.
Yes.
it was a circle,
Yeah,
yeah.
circle
Yeah.
there, yeah.
they put a straight golf course cart path of gravel that wasn't on the road. It's on the village's property, but it obscured where the road really is, and the people that own the lots that should have had road frontage, it's disappeared on them, so I'd like to fix that. And if we can do it while we're
Yeah.
putting material from the roads there to do it, and the grader will go in there.
Right,
It's the other class 6 roads that it's,
been more overgrown, that one's been cut more recently.
the grader could go through, I think, we just don't wanna break any glass on the grader.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, no, we don't want that.
Was
You know, another thing too is it's gotta be the right material. Sometimes the material you're pulling off the roads isn't the right material to
Yeah.
kind of lay out on something like that. But not to say that we do get some nice, decent stuff, or some good stuff.
I've seen some
Yeah, there's some
resellable gravel come out of it.
there is a lot of, yeah, exactly, there's a lot of roads that you.
If it didn't have one stick coming out of it, you would think it was brand new gravel.
Right, there's been a lot of good stuff that comes out of it as well, so that's, you gotta kind of prioritize what stuff you wanna lay out in those situations. But yeah, it's all possibility, you know.
Was there ever a class 6 road from Rhinebeck where you're talking about over to Biasca?
No.
No,
No, okay.
doesn't connect.
Okay, I thought,
That kind of just dead ends in there.
Yep, yeah. There's a footpath,
that's what okay.
but no road.
No road, okay.
It's an interesting.
All set?
I am.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Enjoy the day.
So
Those
at
potholes.
9:41, we'll move to any issues with water that we need to discuss, and I don't think there are any. We don't have any scheduled appearances, and so we'll go to the administrator's report, and you have the health trust note here. That a Bill 297 passed the New Hampshire Senate.
But now it has to go to the House. And
It's this week, I think.
the
Or next
NHMA
week.
was recommending contact,
So you contacted the municipal association?
I did.
And they
We saw
sent
that.
some information? Or,
Well, that's the response that I got.
I looked at, I tried to log into the municipal association's webpage, and my login didn't work, so I sent them an email.
Oh,
They have a procedure to fix things like that. In the meantime, there are things that you can see by just doing Google queries, and it will show you articles. Are you following this, Nancy?
Yeah,
So Health Trust turns out to be a nonprofit risk pool.
well, aren't they currently?
They
They're
already are.
currently- Yes.
And so, there's new state law that's redefining how they're going to operate as a nonprofit risk
Right.
pool. And from what I gathered, you check me if you read it differently, is they want each municipality to have their own, raise their own reserves for the risk pool.
right.
They don't spell it out, but it kind of seemed to me like they were putting all of the municipalities, the school systems that were participating with Health Trust into one risk pool, and they were reducing the cost of buying insurance from Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, by absorbing some of the risk, and they negotiated with the insurance company to reduce the costs of the insurance company. So we pay Health Trust each year in their quote. They put money into a risk pool, then they negotiate with the insurance company, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they provide the health insurance policies. Then when a claim is made, Health Trust goes to the risk pool and pays off some formula that reduces the exposure of the insurance company, and that's how they're keeping the cost down. And the New Hampshire legislature has laws changing where they're redefining how Health Trust is going to form the risk pools. And each municipality has to have their own little risk pool money raised and set aside, is what I got out of it.
Yeah.
So does that mean it really becomes an additional risk pool above and beyond what Health Trust establishes on its own?
It wasn't clear to me that the big pool that they seem to have been running each year
All these years, yeah.
You're
isn't getting
participating.
replaced by a risk pool for every town's employees, every every school system's group of employees. And the size of the risk pool that they're defining with this new law is based on how many members you have, what the cost is that you pay every year. That's the size of the risk pool that you're gonna have to form.
Right, what they charge us, the risk pool is factored in there.
Correct.
Correct.
And that will continue into the future regardless what happens with this SB.
Yes.
Okay,
So right now, they're just asking us, so everything I'm saying is me trying to build a model out of the words that I'm reading that
Right.
don't seem to spell it out for us exactly what's going on. And it's all from the viewpoint of Health Trust trying to convince all the municipalities to lobby the legislatures to not do this.
Correct.
So they're spelling out their reasons why. They're telling us this is bad for us. Get on the phone and call your legislature and tell them not to pass this.
Yeah.
Go against the Senate bill. It's too late for the Senate, they're saying. Get on the House members and get them to kill this. Now, at hand, they're saying they want us to sign a letter that acknowledges that we understand they're not a health insurance company.
Correct.
That's it.
Yeah, they're not,
So we can do that.
that's a piece of cake.
Right.
We can do that on time. So when, you don't have anything ready to sign for us?
No.
So we can extend the meeting, or we can do it next week. Or we can vote to sign it out of session.
Okay,
We are continuing this meeting into this afternoon.
right,
Right.
whenever Jennifer has the letter ready, we can sign it.
So maybe this afternoon if you want,
sure,
or another day.
I don't know,
Okay.
probably today.
I didn't see a date when this bill is gonna come to vote in the House. I guess it's a couple weeks away.
Then the other thing is, you don't have to buy the health insurance from Health Trust. There were discussions that the town of Madison was gonna switch away from Health Trust. I don't know if they did or not.
True. I'm just kind of bamboozled as to if a risk pool is already built into the quote that Health Trust gives to municipalities that use them, why does the legislature, New Hampshire legislature now want to create an additional risk pool?
There again, I tried to make my own model of it as to why they're doing this. And I'm guessing that somebody looked at the risk pool and said, some portion of the state's participants, members, are benefiting by the way this pool is structured, and there are other members that are paying too much into the pool, and their money is being used to subsidize the health insurance of this other section of the membership.
But that's the way insurance works universally.
Well, depending upon what pool you're in.
Yeah.
If it's us three in a pool that are insuring something versus the whole town being in that pool versus all of New England being in that pool, it can be radically different as to how you feel about the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think somebody squawked and said, I don't like this pool.
They've been after Health Trust for a number of years.
Like, they
It
got
started when they broke up
NHMA?
NHMA
I wanted you to remember that, because I was trying to remember
into
that.
Health Trust and
They had a
the
conflict
property
of interest the
and
way it was before, right?
Yes. Well, that was the way they voted it, through the legislator, through Concord. But it was a very bad setup. But yeah, so they're still after it. But it will affect the district future liability.
If this gets passed,
As in,
yes.
if this gets passed, we're going to have to set a certain percentage of our health insurance in a specific capital reserve
Yeah.
to set our own money to, should something
An assessment
catastrophic
come through,
happen.
and we have to participate.
Right,
We're setting
Right.
up a capital reserve
we will be
with the
required,
trustees of Madison?
we will
That's
be,
what it
we will be
says.
required to, if this passes.
I thought they're gonna create a pool dedicated to us, and we're paying the money into them.
No, we create we create one.
The
Right.
bill requires the municipal member to fund the reserve fund in amount equal to at least 1% of the municipality's health
It
contribution
doesn't say where that fund is.
until the fund is equal to 4% of contributions. It doesn't, but it says the bill requires the municipal member, so let's say it's us, VDOE, to fund the reserve fund yeah, right, it doesn't say, but it sounds like we've got to keep it like a capital reserve fund
Right.
internally, as opposed to going
You
to
must
some
create a
external agency.
non-lapsing reserve account.
Yep,
held by us as a member
Yep,
of the
It
group.
says held by us?
yep, held
Right
by
there.
us.
Okay.
So it's gonna be bad for
Yep.
smaller municipalities and most of the major cities and the larger municipalities are big enough that they don't use health trusts. They have their own insurance. And many of them have their own pools, you know, because they're big enough.
Yeah.
You know, it's self-insured, shall you
Right.
say. So, you know, if
Well,
you're familiar
and-
with that
and
type
their
of
employees
a,
participate
you know,
into the
exactly.
premiums, correct?
Exactly. But yes, for smaller municipalities, it'll be very bad if this actually passes.
Potentially could be bad, depending on,
So I'd like to see what other municipalities do as they're having these same conversations.
Right.
And maybe I'll go upstairs and ask
that'd be
what
interesting.
Madison has already done,
Yeah,
because I know they were discussing it. I don't know whether they,
recently or last year?
within the last 2 years, they were talking about
No kidding?
Right.
switching away from
I
health
see.
trust.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so we'll sign the letter and stay tuned.
Yep.
So that's it on health trust for now.
Yep,
Okay.
So at 9:51, we'll go to old business, so we have the skater alert and go to for log me in, access fee in,
yeah, that's kind of expired.
the log me in.
Yeah,
Well, should we discuss this in non-public session where we
Yes.
are with the
okay.
Yeah,
All right, great.
this sounds like a
Yep.
public.
next bullet is notification to paychecks, cancellation of payroll service.
Yeah, we need to know how we're gonna handle that. I know, Mark, you're listed as the, I don't know what they call you, but you're the,
Primary contact.
yes.
So are we ready for a vote? Did we already vote to change
Yeah.
to?
ADP, we did?
We did.
Yep, and I've got the thing for you to sign,
Mm-hmm.
or authorize, because you gotta do it through a portal link.
So should we discuss, do you have a recommendation on what we're doing to cancel the payroll service with paychecks?
We're gonna have to write a memo or a letter to the contact that you set it up with and advise him that we wish to cancel. And what we expect, since we've already paid for filing and whatnot.
Well, has Monica at ADP, there must be some sort of procedure they have to do a smooth handoff.
Yeah, but they don't contact paychecks,
Right, they don't,
no.
right. But once we contact Paychecks and tell them our intentions,
Mhm.
okay, that's just strictly a formality. So they know it's coming. I'm just wondering how
Yeah,
it works after
we
that.
need to do something because your payroll is automatic.
Yeah,
So we need to have them turn that off. We don't want that to go into your April. We don't want paychecks to process your April payment. We want the new company. So you're looking at, it's a very fine line on where what the timing of this. You know, if we should go about it by saying, we don't want you to process April payroll. You know, please be advised when, you know, before the, because I want to be sure that they're gonna file our first quarter. I don't want to like have anything turned off or jeopardized.
Well, do you wanna write a memo that we'll sign that spells it out like that? That you want it to?
Yeah, it's gonna take time because I'm gonna want to be very specific.
Yep.
so no, whatever the final payroll period is, March, we need to let them know,
We've already done our final payment, payroll
all done for March. No
this
more-
week.
Right, okay, so there's no more payments in
So
March.
it's the tax
payroll.
reporting that you're concerned about.
I am.
And it's
Right.
the 18th, and so we have until the end of the month, so we have a meeting next week, the 25th.
Right, but your processing of your of the executive payroll, which will include our, the regular payroll as well. It's, yours is automatic. I don't have to intervene or
Right,
anything like
because
that.
it's the same every single time, yeah, I get that.
And they basically process that on like Tuesday at the latest prior to your payment,
Okay,
your direct
So-
deposit, put it that way.
would our new contact at ADP be able to give us some advice on how to do this to make sure there's a smooth handoff?
I don't think so. Why would they?
Well,
Could
at some
certainly
point,
ask, but
well,
Because they have a big program.
because
to
they
take
do it all the
business away
time.
from
Yeah, Monica
paychecks.
told me
Right.
they've been taking paychecks customers left and right. switching
They're
over to
offering us a
them.
discount to switch away from
talk to her about
paychecks.
it.
Right.
All I know is I don't want them to be set up to, and I wanna be sure that our first quarter filings are not in jeopardy.
So do you
By
wanna
any
write this memo that covers all that, and we'll sign
can
it
attempt
next,
to.
the 25th? That will give time before the end of the month to get it to them.
Yeah, but
And maybe you can talk to ADP, because they want people to switch over smoothly to them. I also read,
They must have a system for a smooth handoff, so that payrolls don't get interrupted.
We can ask.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
But Mark is the, so any letter that's done, it's gonna have to come from Mark. It's gonna
Right,
have to
to
be signed by
paychecks,
Mark. Right, if
informing what
we're- yeah.
our intentions are, yes.
so we'll do that next Tuesday. Anything else on that? No?
Nope, just letting you know that,
Auditor visit on the 21st?
what?
Auditor visit?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Good.
This is their first appearance for this
Mm-hmm,
past fiscal year?
yep, and didn't you say you wanted to be present for that?
But we did it, I did it last year. When's the 21st?
This
It's a Friday.
It's coming Friday.
Yeah, I'll be around for at least a bit. So I'll be able to spend some time. Won't be able to give them all day, but I'll be able to spend some time with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course,
I
at least we know what we're looking at
Yeah,
this year.
and they've had
Whereas
the
last year we
information
did
that I've
not.
sent them for quite some time, so if it's anything that they didn't have or don't have, they should have let me know by now,
Correct.
hopefully.
Okay, so that's this coming Friday. Next we go to signature items at 9:58. And the first thing on there is the closing account request. So I'm gonna make a motion that we close the Bank of New Hampshire account for the water project. There's a separate bank account for the water project, and this is the Rhinebeck Water Tower project in the pressure zone.
Mm-hmm.
This project was like a $1.2 million project with an $893,000 loan and $295,000 in capital reserves that were in play. So if the number of this bank account is, if I remember, it's around 17,000, what is it,
Yep.
17,000?
Little- it's over.
$17,669, to be exact.
So in my motion at closing this, I'd also like to say that we agree that we're going to move the money out of the bank account and are accounting for it as the water project.
Well, you're not really moving, you're closing the account.
But the money has to
Where
go
does the money
somewhere.
go?
You have to deposit it somewhere.
That's moving it.
All right, well,
So what are we
And I'm
gonna,
gonna describe how the money moves. It goes, I'd like it to be used as part of the payment that we make this year on that bond loan. And we've raised the money in our annual meeting in the line item to pay that dollar amount for the loan. We're going to pay part of it with the money that's coming out of this account as we close it. And then tell the DRA in the fall that we would like to return a piece of that line item, the same dollar amount, to the taxpayers by having them not collect the full amount of the operating budget that would have paid this bond all by itself. In other words, the $17,000 we take out of this bank account, we earmark that to be used to pay the bond payment.
The principal part of it?
Well, it doesn't matter, the principal or the interest. Just that we're going to use it so that we're not raising the money from the taxpayers to pay the interest and the principal this year. All of it. You follow what I'm saying? $17,000 is going to be used out of this account to be applied towards the payment we're making for the bond. Therefore, the dollar amount, which is the whole payment for the bond, doesn't get raised. Only the part that's not covered by the $17,000.
So it's an additional on top of the bond? Regular payment?
No?
Okay.
The bond payment is due, August 15th, and it's for $60,920.
So of the $60,920, we would be using the $17,000 to make that payment.
Okay.
And then the balance, after we subtract the $17,000 from the $60,900 payment, is going to be paid out of the operating budget, which would leave an excess in that line item of the $17,000 that we didn't take out of that line item because we're using this bank account to do it. Then we tell the DRA, we would like to not have you take the full amount of the payment from the taxpayers, only the amount that was needed after we subtracted the $17,000 from it.
So, I'm trying to walk this through.
I don't want to use the bank account to help make this payment and tax the people for it.
Right, I get that
And then
part.
it ends up in the unassigned fund balance.
Right,
Which I like us not to do things like that.
okay. But if you go to the budget, we budgeted $50,000 toward the principal of this loan and the Rhineac tank, and $24,390 for the interest, for a grand total of $74,390. Now, you just came out with a figure that we're gonna be paying this year, what?
$60,920.
But we already made one payment, so that's probably the extra.
Okay, so 60,000, what's left on it?
$60,920 is what we're going to be billed for in August.
Right, which includes both principal and interest. Right, okay. So we're gonna apply that, I'm gonna just round, 17,000 from this account, water account, toward that.
So effectively, we'll only be raising taxes for the remainder.
Correct. So it still works out to about 17,000 that will be adjusted for the taxpayers. Okay, got it,
So
walked it through.
I think the easiest way to do that is to simply make a note that when we send in
The DRA
the
fund?
DRA forms, we offset by 17,000
At least.
at least.
There might be something else that comes up during
Correct.
the year, or
Correct.
we have a surplus that we didn't spend this year, and we'd rather have it go back to the taxpayers than go into the unassigned fund balance.
Right.
But we know, what I'm saying now is, it's on record that we're voting, and Jennifer knows that the intent is clear that we are going to at least ask the DRA to reduce taxes by the 17,000.
Right.
Now it's a matter whether Jennifer follows that today or not. Does that story make sense to you?
Somewhat. But I'm sure it'll get clearer when we come down to it and it's actually physically done.
Well,
But I get it.
It's just equivalent to whatever the amount that we transfer, whatever's in the account right now that we're gonna move.
So the simple stuff as far as the movement goes is, this goes into the operating account,
But
this balance. out of Bank of New Hampshire.
Yeah, that should be all part of
And then
it.
the only other thing that has to happen is we tell the DRA to reduce the taxes by the same amount.
Same amount, yes.
Yeah.
At least. if-
Right.
If we don't come up with something else, so
Yeah.
it's that simple.
Yep,
Okay,
But the concept of what we're doing is a little more elaborate than the actual movements that we're making.
Yes,
yeah, but the 10,000
But
foot
the
level,
minutes
it's easy.
document
Yes.
what the intent is.
correct.
Mm-hmm, got it.
Okay, that was easy.
That Staples, but that was easy.
Next on the signature items should be the ADP.
oh, yes,
So
it
the
is,
ADP.
yeah. I wonder where I got that.
That was, wasn't that Ross Perot's company? Electronic Data Processing,
Yeah, was it?
EDP?
Good old Ross.
You remember Ross Perot, Doug, huh?
I almost went to work for him. They interviewed me.
He loved smart people from the military.
Exactly. I was coming out of the service at the time.
He was looking for you. So,
Yeah, so there's a form that you can sign, I'll send back to her, and then that'll probably allow the next step to get on to,
is this where we talk about the ADP contract?
yeah.
Okay,
There were a couple things I noticed right out front. They have the address wrong. They have 1380 Conway Road instead of 18 Conway. And then the phone number for payroll contact is not the district
What is it?
phone. It's a personal cell phone.
Is it what is?
No, I think it's yours.
How did they get that? How would they possibly?
Because they have
even
your,
get
they
that?
have your name and then a
Call the right.
cell,
I never called them on my cell phone.
Oh.
That's, I'm gonna have to inquire with this. That's very odd.
yeah, because if you look right at the first boxes, payroll contact
So,
has your name and then,
so they
not
have
the office.
1630 is Conway Road, that's wrong. It's 80,
correct,
Right.
right? Same with the legal address.
right.
Actually,
And
that mobile number is
This-
my number.
this
Oh, it's your
mobile
number.
is not
Okay.
mine.
That's
Okay, so
my
that's-
number, and the reason being is because I was the first person to reach out to Monica. So we
Correct.
need to
Okay.
just change that to the
Yeah,
office number.
that's
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, that's all. And I did have other questions, and she did answer them, and I forwarded all that back to you guys, so we have
Mhm.
all have an understanding.
so the contract itself, I spent a lot of time with it.
There's a lot of pages here.
It's 22 pages
Uh-huh.
of very small text,
Yeah,
two
Yes.
columns. In the second part of it, after the first 14 pages of how they indemnify themselves and make us responsible for anything that happens, which is basically what that contract is, then the second part of it is a referral program where we win points for referring other entities to
Yeah.
become customers of theirs.
Yeah,
So, I don't think we need to sign that. So we're only gonna do the contract with ADP. Called
yeah,
Run.
I've only got that one form that I need
The
you guys
first
to
part of it
sign.
then, huh?
Correct.
right.
I mean, I don't think I'd even pay an attorney to review this contract.
No, it's pretty,
Because then we'd have to listen to the attorney and I don't know if we'd get anything out of that. What are they gonna tell us, to negotiate with ADP a different contract?
I know.
Right.
Terms?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's not gonna work.
right.
This is
No choice?
many years of having done this business.
Yeah. Who's gonna say,
They built everything that ever happened to them into this contract.
Exactly. They've
Towards
covered,
the-
they've covered every contingency.
towards the back, they do offer additional services if you want more information, and we need to make sure that
We don't want any
we
of-
don't get additional information, and we don't wanna, cause we went through that with paychecks for a while,
We
where
still
we
do.
were all getting emails, you know, for, well, they offer this and this, and it
I
was like,
still
oh,
get it.
please stop.
Yeah.
Part of
It
it
doesn't
is,
stop.
they offer services to do background investigations, financial investigations on new hires, I think. SASS is a third-party firm that they use to do background checks.
Right.
So, we don't do any of that. We do criminal investigations. So I'll make a motion that we sign the agreement to just do the run accounting services. That's the name, trade name of it, run.
Mm-hmm.
There's a word after run.
Run powered by
Run
ADP.
powered
Yeah.
by ADP.
Yeah,
Yep. Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
301, signing the ADP payroll services. Run powered by ADP. Let me know when you're all set with that.
mm-hmm,
So we decided we're gonna talk about the IT services contract in non-public session.
Yep.
Next is Porter copier scanner quote.
yeah, you told me to print out whatever we got so you guys could have a signature on it. Yeah, there's other stuff here too, so I'm just keeping it together so you can sign it all at once.
You don't need a motion on that then, because we
No,
already agreed
we
to do
already,
this.
it was voted at the annual meeting.
Right.
The next is DRA Form MS 232.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do we need a motion to sign that?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we sign the state's DRA, Department of Revenue Administration's MS 232 form.
Second.
Aye.
So what this form does is it shows the appropriations as actually voted at the annual meeting. So after we go through and put everything in together into the warrant through the Department of Revenue portal, then you have to give the outcome of the annual meeting. And Jennifer and I sat and did that last week, and then we put in the budget for 2025 as voted as well.
Yep,
So the DRA every year first gets the posted warrant,
yep,
then they get a report on what actually happened.
correct.
Yes,
Then in the fall, they ask you, what do you really want to do with
Yes.
yes, with what's happened.
three-step process?
Yes.
So we don't need any motion on that?
Well,
Oh,
you
we
did,
did, we
you just,
did.
Yeah.
We just
Voted.
did.
We just,
You voted yes, you went into
Aye.
a discussion, 301, approving
Okay.
that,
Right.
okay,
okay.
back online. Oath of office form.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about that, please,
Signed the
cause,
wrong one.
yeah. You guys need to sign the oath of office, cause what you signed was not another oath of it was not an oath of office, it was the candidacy form, you signed that twice,
oh,
yeah.
When did you
So-
do that? After the meeting?
yeah,
When she was at the office with me last week,
so we used the wrong one?
so yeah,
Okay,
so I brought
That's
two
not
of
part
them
of this
here.
meeting then, that you're just doing that.
Right.
Yeah, oath of office is on here,
And you need to do it too, I guess.
I got mine filled out, I printed it off.
oh, good for you. I got one for you, Nancy.
So at 10:13, we'll go to commissioners' reports.
May I have a point of personal thing here?
Yep.
What?
Could I have you sign this check and sign the
The letter?
so I can not have to stay for everything? Sorry.
$121,809.73 paid to the order of the village district. This is the closing of the account?
The operating account,
That's the
yes.
operating one.
Okay. So does it need a motion?
we already,
Last week, you guys
Okay.
yeah,
already pretty much voted on what you would accept for the,
And is that memo to close there for them to sign to?
So the next
Just need to
manifest
vote.
is gonna show the 287 or whatever it was that was on your last manifest, plus this now.
no,
She
it
said
is
it.
She's
not.
she's included
Oh,
this
you already
amount in
included,
it,
yes,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Which is depressing, I thought. when-
Yeah.
We're just consolidating
I
the
was
two
kinda
accounts.
surprised to see that it was 287, now
I
I
had
understand
told
why.
you guys that I was consolidating because it's,
Then we all have to sign this letter, right? This letter
I'm
here?
not gonna get into it again. I'm just not.
Oh, this is for the 17669.
Right.
Right, we do not have physical checks for that account.
So I have to go in and have a cashier's check made and so right back to
Mhm.
you to do that.
So that's all signed.
You want this part?
No, I already have the other part, so you can throw it away or whatever.
And the date on this would be last week's meeting. The local office.
Mark hasn't signed it yet.
Yep. Mhm.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
So will Jake.
Pardon?
So will Jake.
So, the 8th, oh, here's that.
Yep, right here.
March 11th.
Yeah, the 11th.
Today's the 18th.
What you swore in last
Oh,
week.
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
The verbal oath, yes, on the 11th.
All right, so at 10:16, we'll go into the commissioner's report. I sent an email to the engineer Nick Schedule to tell him the results of our conversation about looking at his drawing, where Ian suggested that we take the old PRV from the Como pit and make it part of the bypass of the new PRV in the new Como pit.
Yes.
And just noted that we noticed that he has also a drain pipe leaving the new Como PRV and running across the road to Daylight. So I did that. Nick is not in the office. I got an automatic reply saying he'd be back tomorrow. I met with FEMA last Thursday, and
The new guys.
the new person is Brenda Kelly. Not Brenda Kelly. Kelly O'Brien.
Good Irish name.
And Holly Evans, who has been with the Idlewise projects all along, who is New Hampshire Emergency Management for New Hampshire Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
And the third person joined, who was Tim Jackson, who was on most of last year's meeting, who seems to be the FEMA rep for mitigation. His area is focusing on where FEMA sees opportunities to use a different type of grant that they call mitigation to invest in making sure future damages aren't reported to FEMA or don't happen to the village.
Right.
So he focused on things like, can they fund fixing the Grissom culvert? Because there's exposure with that. Every time it rains, we worry about whether it's gonna wash that road out again.
Right.
So he participated. So to give you a highlight of how this meeting went is, Kelly O'Brien said she understood how frustrating this all is and hopes that I can just stay with them and move forward. And Holly pointed out again that New Hampshire Emergency Management wants to see us begin each of the 6 projects this year. In order for them to want to continue to try to reimburse us next year, they need to see that we're not starting the project next year. They want to see all the projects start this year, which adds a new level of fun complexity to managing the projects this year, so we have to start them all. Then we got into a discussion of the mitigation for Grissom. And I was explaining to them that it looks to me like the FEMA portal is saying that they have decided that they're going to give a dollar amount as an opportunity for Idlewise to put the culvert back just the way it is now with a 48-inch culvert, which was the design that was put in 1962, which fails miserably under current climate conditions when the
Uh-huh.
rain gets up to 5 inches, which seems to do
More regularly.
more than once every 100 years now. Seems to happen. Anyway, so as Tim is listening to me explain that they were going to do a cost estimate for a arched metal culvert to see if that was a lower cost one, because they deemed the state-approved box culvert as being not cost justified. They see that as too expensive a solution to be participating in with any kind of grant. So they rule out the box culvert, which is the only thing we have a permit for. They're saying they won't do a cost estimate on the arch culvert because it's not permitted by the state. They won't work on anything that's not permitted by the state.
You mean approved first? Is that what you mean?
Permitted.
God.
So with ruling out the box culvert and not even wanting to look at the design to see if the arch culvert is cheap because we don't already have a permit by the state to do it, they're defaulting to say for $170,000 we're saying you can replace the 48-inch culvert that failed. But the state won't let us do this. So Tim
Okay.
Jackson,
What?
who's on the video call, says, "You're trapped,"
This is
This is nuts.
weird.
right? So the other, Holly
Makes no
and
sense.
Kelly are silent for a second or two, realizing that it's a FEMA person that's saying that FEMA has us trapped in not being able to do anything.
Well, depending on how quickly we can get that put together, because the engineering for the culvert passed at the annual meeting.
Which I pointed out.
So if we can get Nick to get that towards the high end of priority, then we can get that sent through to the state and possibly get a permit
Permit.
somewhere by the end of the summer.
So the next thing I said after saying all that, and having Kelly O'Brien say that FEMA usually is quick to do reimbursements to advance money for designs. So it's like, okay, so if you actually give us some money to get us going on the design, I don't know whether the design of the arch culvert is any cheaper than the box culvert. And Tim Jackson says, I don't either. So, do we move forward and spend 15 grand to have Nick spend the time and our money to come up with a design, pay to get it approved by the state, pass it over to FEMA, and FEMA says, the cost of this is not acceptable either. Now we just blew 15 grand. We have 2 designs sitting on the shelf and no path on fixing Grissom Road.
If the engineering is working on the culvert setup, can they do an estimate?
They were supposed to do an estimate that I was waiting for all winter to find out. The answer comes back, they recategorized the project as A&E. I had to ask what A&E was.
Yeah.
I got the answer, architecture and design, with no explanation as to what that meant, until Kelly finally said that that's a category where they may advance money to get the design done.
Not FEMA, the engineer. Can we get an engineer's estimate?
Well, the reason we even started on the arch culvert
Right.
was Nick said,
Correct.
this may be cheaper.
Right.
Yes.
Nick's the only one that has said this is cheaper.
Yes.
Nick could give us a cost estimate right now.
It could give us at least an idea what we're
Well,
up against.
if he knew that the permitted design would cost us over $500,000 to actually do, the question for him is, how much cheaper do you think the arch culvert is before we start spending a dime,
Right.
even though it's going to get reimbursed for the design? So that's where I was at the end of.
Still seems like we should proceed down the path we planned on. Because one of the good things, we knew that for Nick to do the work on this, he's got all the data from the last time they did the box culvert, right?
Right.
all the data's there, so it's a
He's
quick.
got the design.
It's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be a quicker process to put together.
Right.
A cheaper process.
And the 15,000 was something I swagged for the annual meeting warrant,
Right.
because he wasn't available to give me an idea of what it would actually cost, but I knew we could get it going.
And I seem to recall, I don't know if it came from Nick, I don't remember, but so I hope I'm not just pulling this out of you know what, but they were thinking that the arched metal design was somewhere in the range, less than 200,000, not greatly less, but.
Would you hear that?
I don't remember
I
that.
thought I heard that somewhere.
I didn't.
Okay. I don't know where I got that from. But
I heard one of the contractors that I talked to say that he didn't think it was gonna be much cheaper.
right, I remember you said that.
Because they still have to take
But that-
14 feet of earth out of the way to get either one of them in place.
Yeah.
Right.
And the arch culvert comes in pieces, not the casted culvert comes in pieces that a big crane has to lift them as heavy pieces into place. Where the arch culvert, you pour concrete footings after you get all the earth out of the way for 14 feet, 80 feet across. Then build the equivalent of a Quonset hut by bolting together metal pieces, then bury it again and put the water main back, which you're doing for the box culvert.
Yeah.
So it's the difference of the cost of getting the box culvert in place, buying it and getting it in place, versus buying a kit and pouring the footings and building an arch culvert. So we can decide that we agree that we should ask Nick to give us his best estimate as to what the cost differential is between those two.
But does it have to be, does a permit have to come along with that in order for FEMA to?
In order to get
Consider this?
in order to get a permit through the state, we need to have a full engineered design, and we have to have it submitted to the state as a change to
Okay.
the already permitted
Box
project.
culvert.
Yeah.
So I think we should stick with our plan and see what happens. 'Cause, I mean, this is just sort of a bump in the road that may derail us down the line, but we don't know that yet.
Well,
Wow.
I do like the idea of just running it
Having
by
Nick.
Nick.
Okay, before we do
Having
anything
Nick-
else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because why would we want to spend potentially $15,000 and a lot of our time?
My time.
If
That's what I'm trying to
it's
avoid.
not going to be feasible, you know, if instead of being 500,000, it's going to be 450, you know, we're still not going to be able to do it.
Okay, so either way, if that's the case, then that road's closed forever.
That might be
Outcome. of
the
it all.
outcome, and then there'll be other things that will have to be done regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like removing the culverts, and some of that stuff's gonna have to happen regardless.
No kidding.
Of what we do.
Nature's gonna start doing things to it
Yes,
eventually.
yes,
If it's not working on it right now,
right.
she's busy.
We're pretty sure she's already working on it. We've all seen the storm, the steam, the streams and everything getting way up, and the water is definitely flowing.
So you get an idea where I am with just that culvert thing, right?
Right.
We discussed many other things too. One of the things, so I'm gonna send you a copy of the spreadsheet that they have every FEMA applicant do for each project. It's got 10 tabs in it, and it has labor, it has the materials for every project, it has rental equipment, it has contractors. You have to figure out the fringe benefits per hour of each of the employees. So you put the dollar amount that they make per hour. It has a column for overtime. Then there is the fringe part where I did an estimate that said that 30% of the employee's pay has an additional fringe benefits to it, which they classify as the health insurance, the retirement plans, the, everything else, the dental if they have it. And I'm figuring that at 30%. I did that last year. I found it in things I did last year that I forgot about because they derailed me on doing what they're asking me to do now, because they said they were gonna do it.
Yes, right.
And
Right,
they're all gone.
right, and that didn't
I
happen.
got a new person that's saying, I don't know anything about what they told you.
What?
So it gets down to this is, had to start going through the minutes and through all the time cards, trying to piece the story together day by day of what happened in 2023. And I went through the 3 boxes that are in the files for 2023 that are still in the office before they move into Doug's
Record storage, yeah.
Doug's dungeon in the sky. And, the minutes all talk about renting an excavator from Coleman's at $600. And it's in the letter that went to the director of the DRA of all the expenses. And I went through, Jennifer did a QuickBooks report of everything that was paid to a vendor from July of 2023 to October of 2023. And it doesn't show any $600 rental from Coleman Rental. Coleman's Rental is in the report for other things.
Yeah.
And I went through the box and looked for the physical invoice, and there is no physical invoice. And I spent the weekend trying to fill in this spreadsheet. And yesterday afternoon, I met the guys as they were coming off the road to end their day at the garage. And I brought it up to them. And Tony said that they rented a machine, a mini excavator from Coleman's. And there was a problem with it. And Coleman Rental took it back and didn't invoice them.
Right.
So even though the minutes say that we rented a machine for $600, and the presentations to the public for the public hearing, and the letter to the DRA all says that we paid Coleman $600,
We never did.
we never did. Then, the DPW went on to say, we used a big excavator for the Bergdorf culvert, because that's a big installation, the Bergdorf culvert that got wiped out downstream of the Grissom culvert. The DPW asked Chadwick Bayross if they'd like to send a full-size grader up to Idlewise to evaluate it for purchase. Chadwick Bayross threw a big excavator on a flatbed trailer and trucked it up here, and it was here for 4 days as we evaluated it for purchase. Because one of the commissioners mentioned before this that the village should buy an excavator because we're gonna be doing so much pipe work. So they put the Bergdorf culvert in place and sent that monster back, and there's no invoice for that.
Nothing.
Free use for 4 days.
So the good news is,
I don't
It's a double-edged
understand
sword.
any of it.
Wow.
this is the way the village I'm looking at these things. I saw the administrator was paid 3 hours overtime on the Sunday of the storm.
For what?
For what?
Nobody knows.
The DPW says, we never saw her that day. We don't know what she could have been doing on a Sunday while we're running around seeing how bad everything was, and trying to open roads. So, what a wild, strange trip it's been. And it ain't over. So I thought I was gonna submit a report to have our first thing go in to see if we could get a reimbursement check just for the Barden culvert and for the Bergdorf culvert. Then I met with the guys yesterday afternoon per chance, and I'm basically throwing away everything I did and starting all over. And I probably won't get it done by Thursday morning at 10 when I meet with Evans and O'Brien again. And I don't know whether Tim Jackson will be on that one, but I was hoping to get it into them. But that's where the FEMA thing stands.
Would the other information that you put together still be applicable? So you don't have to throw everything away? You just don't have to put in the,
The thing I'm benefiting by is I thoroughly understand every piece of that broken Excel spreadsheet. That's another thing. the Excel spreadsheet is broken all over the place.
The formulas, you said, don't
Their
work.
instructions on the first sheet of the first tab are wrong. And I'm fixing formulas so the spreadsheet actually works the way it's supposed to work.
Wow.
But so I understand how the whole thing is, and I'll send it to you so you can see what this looks like when I get a working copy with
Yeah.
all the first information in, so you're not looking at a blank spreadsheet and you can't see how it actually works. But I can fill this stuff in faster because I know the nature of the spreadsheet now. I have the hours in there. I have the two trucks, the two Ram trucks, the 7400, the John Deere backhoe in there with the FEMA dollar per hour charges that they predefine
For
that they'll
equipment
pay for that
use, yeah.
piece of equipment. So that I have all that. So it's not all getting thrown away.
Good.
But what happened on what day is changing now that I talked to these guys and heard this story, and they gave me other details that made me go, wow, I wasted my Sunday, all day Sunday.
Yeah,
doing
and
it.
this is strictly for that 2023.
This is
storm.
just for fixing the Barden. No, that's the other thing is, when they came in, they didn't go and work on the Barden and Bergdorf culverts immediately and consecutively. Tony came in and drove the backhoe for 9 hours that Sunday, just trying to get roads open. Then he went into the grader. We get the most dollars per hour running the grader. When they did the culverts, I looked at the invoices of when they got crushed stone from Burke Quarry and tried to use that to say when they did the culvert work,
Right.
when they got the culvert from Smithfield. That was my clues as to the date. So, okay,
Right.
here's the stone coming in, here's the culvert.
Yeah.
They must have started working on it now. No.
It wasn't.
So,
Wow.
Right.
and the poor people that are working on projects where their houses are destroyed, trying to, I don't know how municipalities in like North Carolina, when everything's a mess, are trying to deal with this. It just, the bureaucracy is crazy.
Yeah.
And Mike Brooks will tell you that too. So anyway, that's my report. That was too long.
No,
No.
that was, shows what.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Nothing important like that.
You all set?
Did you have anything, Widow? No?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Do we want to set a time frame for when we want to do things like meet with the sheriff and the chief of police of Conway? I know we don't want to do it right now. There's other things that we have to be focusing on, but it's something we don't want to let slide.
This
What do
is
you
in
think of-
reference to what?
The contract for the
Contract
tower.
for-
Setting up
towers.
the,
The tower agreement?
yeah,
What do you think of starting by sending a letter to Carroll County saying that our voters voted on a warrant article and are advising us to pursue a revised agreement that has monetary compensation? Start from there.
sending an email was one of
Yeah.
my suggestions was, did we want to start that way? You know?
Well, who do you want to send it to the sheriff or do you want to send it to the Carroll County Commissioners? Or both?
We've never met with the commissioners.
They set
We-
the budget,
Always, I know, but we've always met specifically with the sheriff,
the village has, right?
yes. So I would think we would send it to Sheriff Riccardi.
Okay,
I think we should do it as a formal letter to begin with.
I think so, yeah. I think a letter more than an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I just don't want it to let it slide, because we're
We
gonna
have a lot
get
of
busy
things.
on other things, and this is gonna still be out there, you
Yep.
know?
So do you want to draft a letter? I can draft it. It's pretty much just what I said to you.
Yeah, so, if you're gonna get me going in the right direction for a draft, that'd be,
I'll send-
that would be very helpful,
I'll send a draft through the office
Yes.
that you'll see, okay?
okay?
What about
And
the town of Conway?
it would basically be the same thing, only it would be to to the chief of police of Conway.
Do we have anything in writing that says anything about Conway having any involvement in that
No.
facility?
We
Not
do
really.
not.
So I'd like to start with Carroll County. And part of the process is for them to say what Conway's involvement is
Mhm.
and document that, then go to Conway.
Okay,
I see.
Because now we have a year,
right,
minus a few weeks.
which becomes minus a couple of months really
Yeah,
quick.
very fast, but
Yes. And just so you know,
Yeah.
the county doesn't do an annual meeting. The voters who pay the tax do not vote on the budget. That's done by the
Right.
Carroll County delegation, which is the state representatives elected to the seats in Concord who are from Carroll County. They make up a delegation that acts as the representative of the voters.
okay.
It's a wild and woolly bunch.
Yeah.
So before we go to Conway, you're saying we're gonna go to Carroll County Commissioners first?
No, we're gonna start with the
The
sheriff.
sheriff.
Well, I know that the sheriff,
Yes.
that's one thing,
Yes.
that's separate.
But I'd like the sheriff to tell us
Oh.
what is Conway's involvement with our facility before we start talking to Conway and saying, I don't know if they have anything there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we knew that they did have something there.
We last time we met with the sheriff, which was 2018.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we were verbally stated that Conway also had things, and that's where the information of we should set up a agreement with Conway. But I don't know exactly what they have. I don't know if it's just computer equipment in the building. Is it airs on the? I'm sure it's airs on the tower itself. I don't know exactly what they have.
Okay,
So we'd need to get that info, and that would have to come through the sheriff's department.
okay, got it, now I understand.
I'd like to know if it's radio equipment that they have up there, or is it microwave equipment they have on that tower, or is it an assortment of different types of electronic devices that they have there, and who owns what? Do they have any cellular ones up there?
No. It's 911 only.
You've climbed that tower and looked?
I'm taking the sheriff at his word that it's 911 only. So it could be Conway's, it could, the sheriff's department, we know Madison uses it, we know, everybody's repeat is,
They don't have fiber optics at that facility.
I d-
That's what I'd like to know is it all microwave from Ossipee by Whittier? I don't know if they have anything on Whittier's antenna mast.
yeah, I don't know.
I guess I'd like to know if somebody asked us, are people shooting microwaves to the top of Oak Hill? Do we know? I think I know what a microwave receiver looks like. And I think I see them up there.
Oh, boy.
And if you live up there, you might want to know whether you're in line with the beam.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so that'll get a draft going for that to keep that moving. And the other thing, I mentioned it last week or 2 weeks ago, like to have the office sign up for the legislative bulletins available through the NHMA portal and have them distributed to the commissioners every time they come in. There's spectacular information, like we would have known about this
Yeah,
stuff
Right.
a couple months ago.
yeah. I think they sent
Um,
instructions
so-
with all that.
So we definitely need to get the office signed up for the NHMA legislative bulletins, because there's wait until you see them. Some of it is absolutely not gonna affect to us ever, you know?
Right.
But you'll see House bills and Senate bills
Yeah.
that will affect specific sections of 91A, that will affect specific sections of the Municipal Finance Act,
Right.
one of the RSA's in the 30s, you know? And you really need to pay attention to those because they can definitely affect everything we do moving forward.
Right.
Like, if we have to set up a reserve,
Right.
you know? So there are things that, you know, and like I said, then there's other things that will apply only to major cities and stuff, and, you know, you just don't pay attention to those, but I wanna get those sent around to us.
Is that what you were talking about? You were trying to sign on, but your sign on didn't work? You were trying to access those?
Yes,
Yeah.
that lets me access them when I wanna go and look at them.
Yeah.
What she's talking about is that
When they first
NHMA will
posted.
email them
Yeah.
all to the office as they
Correct.
happen.
Yeah.
And we used to get them turned around and sent to us.
Yes.
So it's,
What stopped it? Why did we no longer start
Uh,
getting them anymore?
Specific set of commissioners
I-
and followed by a couple of other
Okay,
employees that just didn't wanna see it.
alrighty.
there was a board of commissioners that had one commissioner that didn't wanna have pictures of what was happening in Idleways sent to the office.
Yeah, of
What?
drainage issues and
Road
things.
issues, water system issues,
Yeah.
people
How
would send pictures to say
Where were they supposed to go?
they didn't wanna see him, this guy didn't wanna see him, so.
He came right out and said, stop sending those to me, and I said, you can ignore them, but I am
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
send them.
no, that's the same thing.
Yes, but yeah, so,
See no evil,
there-
hear no evil principle.
yeah,
Okay,
but yeah, so that, you know, we used to get it, we used to get them on a
Gotcha.
regular basis.
yep,
And I saw on the website where they are still available. We just, through the portal, have to sign up for
Yep.
them, and then once you get one, distribute
Forward it
them
to us, yeah.
to the commissioners, please.
yep, looks
would-
very easy, so.
Yeah,
It's not
and that
like
was
we-
what I had.
It's not like we don't get enough email, but those are good.
Those, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
What else you have?
That was what I had.
Okay.
Okay. So at 10:47, we see that there's no correspondence. And do we have any public comments?
Working on the minutes. Gonna get them done.
I see that the first time I went to the website for YouTube, the transcript of the annual meeting for the town wasn't up. There's a lag between when the streaming goes up and when YouTube actually generates the transcript. So have you looked at the transcript for our annual meeting?
These last few days, I haven't had a chance to get on there. That's a great suggestion, and I will, yeah. Be a huge help.
Yeah, I think it's really incredible that it's free the way they do it.
No idea they did that.
I just found out a week or two ago. So we're going to go into non-public session, and then we will,
Did you want to recess first?
no, we're
Okay.
still in public session as we voted to go into non-public session. And when we finish the non-public session, we'll vote to recess the meeting.
Gotcha.
And then, I don't know if you are going to Rhinebeck.
Well, I don't do ladders.
Yeah, you don't. You might want to be the one that fills in the accident report.
Take pictures, you know, document everything
Witness.
for the office.
Designated reporter.
So I'll make a motion that we go into non-public session to discuss contracts, and we don't want to accidentally damage anyone's reputation in our examination of contracts.
Yeah.
Second,
How do you vote, Nancy?
aye.
How do you vote, Woody?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we're in non-public session. Thank you, Carol. And that's at 9:10 something.